Rocket is the key fintech hub in Lithuania, where top creators and founders build the future of financial technologies and the next generation of sustainable innovations. Acting as a dynamic ecosystem, we provide space for networking, expertise sharing, and cooperation, enabling and contributing to the success stories of the finance, technology, and innovation sectors. During the past years, our hub has established a leading position as the home of fintech and core place for fintech community.
Hey. Hello, everybody. Hello, Paulos.
Hello, Martinas. Hello, Paulus.
Hello, Marius.
Hi.
Nice to see you all here. And we will try to convince IT guys that lawyers, not all lawyers are very boring person. So we'll try to convince that we are something different. However, so before we start, I have some, let's say, advertisement about what is Legal Hackers, what is the global movement. So I will share the slides, and later we will come back to the discussion. So I'm sharing, and yep. Okay, can you see my slides?
Not yet, but still we are waiting. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so we are Vilnius Legal Hackers, and we are one chapter of 200 chapters, which are based in whole world. You can see that it's in the North America, South America, Europe, Australia, Asia, and Africa. We don't have in Antarctica yet, but who knows, maybe one day. So that movement connects people who are interested in law and technology, or they just want to innovate law because they think that law doesn't work like very well at the moment. So basically, people, they are trying to hack existing legal models, trying to suggest innovative models how to do the law better, or the process of law better, how to seek for justice for all. So everyone who is interested, you are invited to join us. The topics which we are discussing, they are very broad, from, let's say, legal to technological, or even like biohacking, or like cannabis and tech. So it's even connects like medicine. So a lot of areas, and all those topics, they are collected from all the chapters from the world, and just highlighted the key words from those topics. So if you see something interesting, just look, search for Legal Hacker events, and you will find something. In Vilnius, so we have established a year ago our chapter, and today you will see 3 of us, so boys, let's say, and our girls are very busy at the moment because Ernesta is on her wedding at the moment. Justina just this week became advisor of Minister of Education, so also very busy. And Aušrina, she is like Dean of Law Faculty at Vilnius, at Kaunas Magnus. It's Magnus University based in Kaunas. Okay, so very busy women. So that's why we guys are only today here. For warm up, I would like to show you a little bit what is IT law. how law is connected with computer science. If you saw that it's Counter-Strike, so sorry to say, but actually gamification also is a part of this domain. So I would like to ask participants, to Marius and Paulus, what they think, what is law and computer science. Other question also I would like to ask, is it like the same of regulation of the new technologies and phenomena, or maybe we can just copy paste something from the IT law, some maybe principles when we regulate the new technologies? And also, I have just one example about the Jetman, which was shown I don't know, like a week ago. So, however, it works very slowly. Just a little patience, please. So you see, like a guy who has on his arms some like jet engines, and he can just go from one place to another and do what he wants. Yeah, you can see how it works. So in general, just imagine that the law is at the moment designed for people who are not flying. And now it has changed. Just you need to buy those things and you can go whatever you want. So the walls, everything is designed for people who are not flying. Yeah, so maybe we can, just one moment. Maybe we can, okay, sorry, I have to stop and to come back to stop my slides. Yeah, and so maybe we can, to reuse that IT law knowledge for regulation of this jetmans. And also the last question for Warmup, what do you think for Mars, for marital law, if I'm correct, if I'm correctly pronounce it? Do you think like IT lawyers are better, or just common lawyers are better to develop that new law of Mars? So who wants to start?
Maybe I can start if you'll agree. So I will take for example the jetman, yeah, and I can explain why the law should be so careful about that. And I will use three main principles of information technology law regulation. The one principle, the first one, is the neutrality, yeah, technological neutrality. So you are not able to describe legally one technology. Why it's so dangerous? Just imagine if we will try to legally describe jetman. What do you need to have? What kind of the jets? Yeah, what kind of the turbines, fuel kind, and so on. We will change technology in 1 year, in two. Or maybe we will invent something new that will not fit with the definition of the jetman. So that means we need to try and describe not technology, but the use of it. Let's take for the example drones. Drones are not the engines, 4 engines, 2 engines, or 3 engines. Drones are just the objects which can fly by using the motors, power, electricity, and so on. But we are dividing them just by size. Small one, big one, equipped with the camera, without camera, possible to record video, sounds, or not. Do we need to have specific license for them? Okay, so that's a little bit just, we need to look at the power, at the possibility to fly high or less of the altitude, maximum altitude. So that's why we have some minimum regulation regarding it. It's not the plane, yes, but still, it's fly. So that means we need to regulate the altitude, regulate the privacy questions, yeah, the possibility of the recording, and so on. Same here. We'll try to describe all these actions: flying what? Suits, flying machines, or something, fittable machines. The person can just attach to the body and go up. So all the risk for others, risk for privacy, risk for strategical objects, yeah. the cybersecurity, even the strategical risks for critical infrastructure, object, and so on. So that's mean technological neutrality. Don't try to describe exact technology. Just describe legal relationship with that technology. The second principle is equality or functional equality. Do we have any similar right now? Yeah, we have small planes. Yeah, we have small self-flying planes without engines, with engines. We have the parachutes. Yeah, we have something similar. So we have regulations regarding that. Do we are able to jump from the buildings, I don't know, from the bridge? No, we are not. So we have the regulation. Try to use similar regulation to regulate that new kind of the relationship. If it's not possible, let's invent new rule. But that new rule should be just match the first principle. And the last one is self-regulation. And I hope for the half or 1 year or 2 years, it will be just self-regulated. The self-regulated. Everything what's matched the functional equality. So we have regulation, yeah? You're not able to fly, I don't know, across or in the cities, for example, during the big events where you can find a lot of people, so the risk and so on. But if you are doing it at the field or above the sea, above the water, so it's on your own risks. So just check the altitude. I don't know, just try to prevent from trespassing every critical infrastructures, objects, and so on. So you're able to test your suit, and maybe in the next future we will just look again at you and we'll find new kind of the regulation for it if we will see that it will be so popular and so on. So just the three principles of that, and that's why a law should be so careful regarding that. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Marius, very interesting that you pointed to self-regulation. I remember when drones actually appeared in Texas, we had that owners of the land, they are protecting like very well their land, and just they are shooting.
Yeah, from the trespassing. Yeah, above the land and through the land. Yeah, you're able to. And as I know, they changed that behavior. Now they're training the birds, the big birds, to catch the drones with the birds, or even they invent new kind of drones that catch other drones if they trespass the land. Yeah, but we have new kind of, it's not new kind of the relationship, but still, just imagine the civil case and the damages. It's object, yeah, it's your own drone. Can you just shoot it or not? Can you just catch it? You need to return it me or not? So it's a question again, yeah. If someone just take your drone and so on, still it's your property. It's your property. So.
And if you are not experienced, I know, jetman, and if you land to someone's property.
So as I mentioned before, maybe we need to think about regulation of the licensing of specific, I don't know, jet suit license. Because if you want to drive the plane, you need to have the license. Helicopter, you need to have the license. But if you want to jump to the parachute, you're able to do it for free. Just, of course, you need to have some practice on that. You need to belong to the fly club or someone, but you can invent by yourself some small flying object and try to just be in the sky. But still, we have the civil aviation regulations, so that describe what will be the plane, what will be the helicopter, and self-flying object. So of course we have different classes of them. So it's also technological neutrality. Let's compare with the electric bike, electric scooters, and so on. Just two options: the power, not more than 1 kilowatt, and the maximum speed, 25 kilometers per hour. So that's it. If you match that standards, that means you're not transport that needs to be registered. You're just a simple electronic scooter or bike. If you will just over speed or overpower, so that means you need to pass all this regulation.
Paulius, what do you think about that? Do you agree that IT law could be like reused in other areas, like same principles, maybe for Mars also?
That's a tough one, especially with a Martian law. I mean that kind of the invasion or exploration of Mars is something which is unimaginable in its scale, and very good question. I mean, if that will progress to humans being on Mars and to some regulation of those relationship, on the other planet. So that comes to I mean, completely new type of relationship, and I believe the new type of laws and application of those laws is the same. It is the same scale problem as to bring a toothpaste or to build a house on a Martian soil. I mean, this is simply something out of the scope of imaginary, and honestly, I don't know how Martian constitutions should look like. I mean, so this is a tough one, and I mean, I simply don't know how to even start approaching this issue. But on that simply a question of IT and law and technology and law and the relationship. I mean, law and technology has a two-side relationship, so to speak. At first, we have a technology law. I mean, the legal rules and, as Marius said, the legal principles which regulates technologies. So here we have, as long as I see and understand, we have a huge problem of law lagging the technological progress. I mean, we see technologies which are simply booming and performing and changing basically every single day. So the things which were invented, I don't know, a year or two ago are already old in the today's standards. So, and the law is still the legal regulations and legal practices hadn't changed much in 200 years. So whenever some new technologies are coming, the same like with the flying people and etc. Well, the regulators, after identifying the object, the problems, the risks that causes new technologies, are sitting down through all the legislative process, discussing everything, adopting some laws. Then it is a time lag for the general public to adopt those laws and start behaving according to those laws. Then there is a legal dispute. So whenever new technologies are coming, the law usually lags in natural environment, maybe 2, 3, 5 years sometimes. So it's a huge challenge for lawyers to pass the laws or to adopt those principles which are very much forward looking. So basically all lawyers and regulators who are taking some technological context or technological developments to look very much into the future and regulate and pass the rules and regulations today, which would still be, which would regulate some technologies which are not yet on hand. Otherwise, it's simply lagging in time and it is a problem. It's because technologies are moving fast. Lawyers are sitting around in chairs and committees, and that creates a huge problem in adaptation and risk management. On the second part of this marriage is legal technologies, the technologies which support the laws and supports its enforcement, which we will be talking more a little bit today. So and in that regard, I see law as a set of logical expressions, textual expressions, but the law is basically a subpart of the logic science in most of the parts. I mean, so you have inputs, you have outputs. So whenever you have this logical connection, it is possible to take that logical connection and put it through the codes and through some programming interfaces to automate that law and to make the legal process much faster. So when it comes to the law, marriage of law and technologies, it's a two-way relationship, including the one with the Rocketman and other contexts. But going back to martial law, I mean, this is a tough one, and I believe it could be a great webinar maybe on that, legal hackers, under the legal hackers umbrella, to kind of involve those lawyers who are working in NASA, who are working in other space agencies, simply to talk about it. Well, how they are thinking about the space law, the Mars law, and then where are the problematic points of adopting, let's say, customary international law or current principles of a space law into the context of a new planet. So that would be a great discussion, and I think that could attract some interesting points to discuss.
Okay, thank you, Paulius.
Yeah, I also have a small comment regarding the martial law. We need to look at the traditional law science, and if we want to, or if we try to regulate something, we need to have possibility to control it, so that all the time control is related with the power, with the force of that regulation. So if on the Mars, for example, just a couple of the people or so on, and we have huge regulation of that, who will be controlling it? Who will be force them to pass that law if we don't have that possibility? Through the monitors, through the signals, please don't do that. Nothing. If you don't have the real possibility to shut down or even to kill, so it's not the law, it's just declaration, just simple declaration without any pass of that. Just
we need Luke Skywalker will be controlling everything.
Yeah, we need to have Jedi on the Mars.
So, Marius, you are saying something like, if you have a tank, you don't need visa to enter to the country.
And sometimes, if you have the border, but you don't have the guns, so it's just not enough to say, please don't cross the border. Please don't cross the border. If everybody's just crossing the border. And the law says, the law don't allow you. It's strongly prohibited. Please don't cross the border. Come on, man. Think now. Save your energy. So it's not the law. The law should be based on the power. Yeah, that's the situation. And the same with the artificial intelligence, for example. If you don't have the possibility to shut down, so why need to regulate that if it will work by himself? So yeah.
As I understand, IT law, or guys like you, so you are like something like translators from legal language to human language for IT, maybe language, where like computer scientists could understand what lawyers need. So
yeah, but yes, I can agree with you. More like the man in the middle.
Yeah, something
like the regulation, and I can identify new kind of the relationship with the technology, and I can just mark it and say, be careful. Now you are entering the legislation field, so just pay attention on that, on that, on that. As my primary field is the financial tools, payments, and so on, and the privacy, of course. So that's mean all the identification stuff and so on. And I say, hey, look, guys, now you're entering to the licensing field. You need to have specific permit for that. So yeah, like the man in the middle, I can identify a new kind of the relationship, and of course, I need to have specific knowledge about the technology. So yeah.
But Marius, like a lot of those IT guys and other non-lawyers, they think, that maybe we don't need law everywhere. What do you think about that? Maybe just we need a very good design of technology, which will not break like the main principles, in which society lives and agrees on that. What do you think? Maybe we don't need law everywhere?
It's like if you are trying to invent something, you're all the time thinking about the good point of that. Just it will be very useful. I will earn a lot of money, great. But you're not thinking about dangerous, about possible problem, yeah? You're just thinking about good side of that. So lawyers can show you the dark side of your activities and then of your technology. For example, the same drones, cameras, and so on. No one just thought about the privacy problem, privacy issues, yeah, underage issues, and so on. And just lawyer says, look, but we have regulation regarding that, traditional regulation, and you invent new kind of technology, yeah, but it should pass the same rules. You're not allowed to come to my house and just film it. So that's mean you're not allowed to fly above my house and film through my windows. Same with other technologies. All inventors, IT guys, artificial intelligence inventors are just saying it will be huge progress. It will be help us, but we need to show them, okay, yeah, it's just one side of that, but we have other side of that. So the main, I don't know, purpose of the lawyer is just to protect them from the bad steps.
So, Marius, you already started to talk about fintech identification.
Yes.
So maybe before we switch to that serious talks, but I hope not very boring.
Yeah.
So I also would like to invite participants or those who are viewers of this conversation just to type comments in YouTube or Facebook on the video which is broadcasted, and we will see here in a platform and we will try to answer them. And now, please, Marius, so you started to talk about the identification, so maybe you can continue.
So maybe we can just present our challenge, or?
Oh, yeah, why not? Yeah. Let's present first our challenge. Yeah, that's great.
Maybe I introduce the problem and why we chose that, okay? So it will be more easy. Yeah, as we know, we have the technology for the identification. Let's take, for the example, digital signature technology and so on. More than 20 years we have that technology on our days, and we have the regulation. The first was in 1995 from the United States, the second from the European Union in 2000s. So that's mean more than 20 years we have regulation. We change it, yeah, of course, but the technology still is the same. It's based on the algorithm, based on different keys, based on public key infrastructure and so on. So yeah, it's secure. What is secure? If you want to crack, you need to spend more than you can get benefit. That's the secure principle. And we still pass that principle. But everything changed. And one of the methods how you can identify yourself in e-space is changing all the time. And just imagine our ID or our identity on e-space is quite different from the physical area. On the physical area, we are just the name, surname, passport, ID card, face. Yeah, you need to be at that same place. You need to have the documents. Some other can look at you and just try to identify your face and so on. On the e-space, we're not able to be at the same time at the same place. We are working from distance. So that means we need to invent new kind of the identification. And usually we use 3 of them. Yeah, you heard about it, a lot about it. The first part is you are what you know. The second, you are what you have and what you know. And the first one, the newest one, you are what you are. So the first part is not so secure. If you know something, the else or other people also can know it. Your username or your password, an easy way to get it. And we know a lot of different crimes related to that, cheatings, phishings, and so on. It's even more also than 30 years it's working online. The second part, yeah, you need to have something and know something. Let's look at financial sector, all your cards, the same digital signature, the certificates were stored on your cards, USB keys, phone, SIM cards, and so on. But still, only one way to prove your will, just to show the connection between that certificate and you, is just element of knowing, just numbers. If you know that, other can know it also. And now we have the first legal problem with that. If someone will sign the document using the digital certificate, qualified certificate, a safe one, yeah, it has the same legal power as handwritten signature, but if not, we have any possibility to prove or to show that it wasn't him. If the numbers was entered correctly, that's mean that's you. You just store your will. You just show it by entering the numbers. If you're doing with your hands written, so experts can just check it, yeah? They can check your style of the writing and so on. In the E space, just only one option. If the spin 1 or spin 2 was entered incorrectly, that means it was you. That's it. For the documents and for the court procedures, it's just enough to prove that number were entering correctly. Yeah, we have the first part of the identification is biometrical data. Yeah, using of the biometrical all the time when you need to prove your will or you need to store your will, you'll be using your constitutional body element. I don't know, fingertips, eyes, voice, face, no matter what kind of technology. But we have other problem. It's data protection. And all this problem with the data protection, you kind of the technology all the time are showing us risky technology. So that's mean the main principles and all the practice comes from more than 20 years ago also, whereas the biometrical data, it's very sensitive data. First of all, you need to use more simple methods of that. Just biometrical is for the last. If it's possible to reach same goal, so use the less technology for that. No matter, it's still safe. So that's mean why you need to use the biometrical if you still can use what you have and what you know. And of course, it's on the market. But if we look at the financial services on the money laundering prevention regulation, they changed the regulation. They said, okay, if you're using the digital signature still, we need to identify your face by biometrically. We need to film you. We need to have your video recording online. We need to ask the questions. Because why? We don't believe in technology. Just imagine all the civil cases, all the relationship. Yeah, you can buy everything. Yeah, you can order even the e-government services. Yeah, you can just have all relationship with the health system, very sensitive system, by using your digital signature. But if we're talking about financial sectors, we're saying, no, it's not enough. Sorry, yeah, it's safe, but it's not enough to prove that you are you. So why are we not able to invent something new? Just merge technologies, biometrical, signature, prove your ID, not on financial sector, but everywhere online. Everywhere online. Why we're still using SIM-static elements? We have the cybersecurity issues. We have a lot of different reports from different countries are saying don't use the statics here, use dynamic element. But dynamic element also are just related with the technology, with the generators, with the phones and so on. Someone can steal it. I don't know why I'm not able to just merge my body with my ID, electronic ID. So the main purpose of the challenge was just to force you to think, is it possible to merge your body, your biometrical data with the simple technology we're using all the time, all the days, not just with the financial sectors. Even if we're trying to order some services for e-government and so on, why we're still using the same technology when we used it 20 years ago? Why it's not changing? The answer will be just data protection, not just the data protection. So maybe you can say something more.
Yeah, but Paulius, what do you think about that GDPR problem? Because actually, if we use for identification some biometrical data, so it also means that we share our biometrical data with someone. Now we share with the Apple, so US, then with China, and so on and so on. So, and yeah, nobody cares about that. And probably already our database of our biometrical data is in other countries' databases. But what do you think about that problem?
Oh, sorry, I just forgot to mention one very important thing, yeah? The inventors of technology, of course, we're changing that technology. They are saying that it's biometrical, yeah, it's like the photo of your face or the fingertips, but the most important, just to store that information in that form, it will be not possible to revert to the primary source. So that's mean if I'm storing just a mathematical constant element, I'm not able to restore your fingertips, your eye, your face. So yeah, that's biometrical technology, but not biometrical data. So maybe it will help us. Just short remark.
But
we are able to change technology when we don't need to just to store the fingertips, the eye ring, and the face. We can store just, I don't know, simple mathematical data, constant numbers, and so on. And just check each time when you are putting your finger on, you're showing your face, you're using the same algorithm. Algorithm will get the same constant. We'll check with the stored data, and we'll say, yeah, 92% match. So that's mean maybe, yeah, it's Mars. But if we'll check in my face or fingertips with different photos of fingertips, we say it's 100% match, but still risk. Someone can revert that. Revert to the primary and maybe to put somewhere else. So yeah, just short remark. Sorry, Paulius.
That's all right. So the question is on the privacy, right, of that biometrics, and if I understood correctly the question. So when it comes to GDPR and privacy regulations, I mean, yes, the general principles currently are built, and GDPR was enacted and put on life in attempt to give control on the data you're sharing and give control on the data which is used by a third parties. So basically the system and the rules are in place, which kind of theoretically gives you control. You can consent to be identified by the tokens you have, or by biometrics you have. You kind of explain that you have to be explained that this data will be stored in some media or in some countries, in some servers, whatnot. So theoretically, you can choose either to use that services or not use that services, either to give your personal data or not to give your personal data. So theoretically, you can avoid giving any of your data to Google or Facebook or to whatever, to online banking. But alternative is that you will be still writing, physical mails and to do the cash transactions only by visiting physically banks. So neither alternative is usable in these days. So theoretically, yes, you are in control, but in real life, you actually are kind of forced to share that data. And of course, the problem with privacy regulation and with losing the identity is it's basically a human errors or human bad will, so to speak. So if everyone would be, acting and behaving according to the law and will not attempt to steal anything, and everyone will be, conscious about others and protect each other. So, well, we will have a system, where no lawyers are needed and everything is self-regulated. So if everyone would behave according to the 10 commands of Jesus Christ, so that would be everything is all right. But in real life, it's not. I mean, even if you was very cautious about your data, there is still a high chance of that some provider will simply lose that data, or it will be stolen. So this is the risk, and the risk is well known, so to speak. And if you know the risk, it is a matter for you to control the risk, to manage that risk. So if you are sharing some data, with someone, you have to assume for the matters of self-protection that this data can be lost, and this data can be stolen, and this data can be used against you. So so it's not about the legal regulations; it's about the risk management. So if you're assuming that your data can be stolen, and if you're assuming that this data can be used to draw your accounts down, so just don't have all eggs in one account. I mean, diversify, spread your accounts, use some devices to track your movements, to track your transactions. Simply, if the case will come up, you could prove that it was not you who did some shady transaction. So that's on one hand, I'm actually a believer that privacy is and shall not be treated as right in current world. Private, I mean, there is no privacy. If you want to live in a society and use all the services, you basically have to assume that there is no privacy. I mean, you don't have that. So to protect privacy as some right, simply for me it doesn't make sense. I mean there is no privacy. So from that point, I'm a believer that privacy should be something like a privilege. I mean, if you are a good, outstanding citizen and you have good trace of your behavior, then you have a right to be forgotten and etc. But that's already deep philosophical and a bit controversial statements. But overall, even for online services, I mean, the biggest challenge probably is to not to protect that data, but to give the risk management tools and to educate people on how to manage risks associated with lost identities and lost personal data. And of course, I mean, don't do anything stupid online. If you are not, watching child porn, I mean, why you have to be afraid of, getting caught on that or exposed? So just don't do anything stupid and manage your risks. And for the remaining things, I mean, the law is okay, GDPR is okay. It creates some problems, but the tools to control your data, at least theoretically, are in places. So yeah, but it's all about the risk management.
I completely agree with Paulus. We need to reinvent the privacy definition. The first time it appeared 200 years ago, the privacy is your right to be alone. You don't have the right to be alone nowadays if you are living in society. Of course, you can move to the forest, you can move to the island, but you're not able to be alone. Just imagine how, if you are using all these services, public service, you're living in the middle of the city, you are surrounded by the people. What kind of the privacy you can have? Okay, you're right. It's not use any technology and so on, but still, your neighbors will know you. At shops, the sellers, and so on. The driver, the bus driver, will just know you, and so on. What kind of the privacy are talking? And if the technology age, the risk manager is most important. And it's a principle. Think before you click. Think before you click. You can think. So that means don't clicking, just thinking. And the privacy, it's a value, but the privacy for me is most important, the close privacy, the privacy of my family and so on. But if I'm outside of my house, what kind of privacy I can have? Internet is outside of my house. Internet is a yard. Yeah, it's a yard. 100 years ago, you were able to just use a horse, traveling to another village. Now you have the internet. You can move in seconds to other country and so on. So what kind of the privacy we will have? It will be some kind of the new right, just right to protect your personal information, very sensitive information that can impact your reputation or can impact your work relationship, the incomes and so on. But still, the simple privacy that just name your photos, other happens. It's just an idea.
Marius, can I give a counter-argument?
Of course.
Are you satisfied with everything what you have done like 20, 30 years ago? And when we think about right to be forgotten, because we are still humans, we do mistakes and we will do probably in the future. So, and when we will use biometrics, so I see
for the rest of the life it will be online.
And I see a few risks, because if you want just to change, if you have PIN code, you can just change PIN code, but you cannot change probably a finger or eyes or whatever. And another thing is that maybe someone can discriminate you by taking the data from your biometrics, and let's say they find out maybe your age, maybe I don't know, your color, maybe even your education, where you live, and so on. Maybe I don't know, but in theory you can be discriminated only by your biometrics, and you will.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree on that.
And by the way, Paulius, I know that he's a fan of Black Mirror series, and there was one series about that if you have social ranking, so you can access to like different events and so on, even to the wedding, and if you don't have, so you can't access. So maybe we are going to this problem. What do you think?
In 1984, Professor David Chang, he invented the RSA algorithm. That algorithm are used for the digital signatures. He said we have two options in the future. The first option is completely anonymous, and the second one is the simple full control. We don't have the anonymity in the financial sector at all. We don't have anonymity in the public field, in the e-government services at all, in work relationship at all, and even at our social life at all. If we want to be the part of the social life, we need to identify ourselves. Of course, we can cheat. We can just pretend for other persons. For how long? The e-space can offer you the possibility to pretend a lot of times, to change your IDs, to change your profiles and so on. But yeah, the biometrical can fix your real ID with the e-ID. Yeah, it's a risk, but you can choose. Okay, if I'm talking about financial services, it will be with me all the time. So that's mean, yeah, I will risk and I will use the same ID. If I'm talking about the public services for the government, I'm still just the numbers. Yeah, I'm still just the numbers. If I'm talking about the healthcare, about medicine data, yeah, it's on my own way, but I will use the same ID. So no matter, it will be biometrical or the physical. So the balance between the risk, yeah, for the commercials, for the fun stuff and so on, yeah, why do you need to use the biometrical? I don't know. Yeah, it's a risky. And the profiling and so on. For the government, the same. We can profile even not using biometrical. You have just one number, you get it by when you birth, and you will just, when you die, that number still will be with you. So we have the personal codes and so on. We have the problem a lot. And the biometrical is just a part of that.
Okay.
But it's very risky. Of course, I'm afraid of that. Someone can pretend or just to make my real ID on eSpace. Physically, it's quite hard to pretend me, yeah? I mean, but on eSpace, if you can revert all this data, you can access all the information. So yeah, it's very scary.
But Marius, maybe someone just will use your face and will give lectures for the students. Maybe it's a great idea.
I think you heard about initiative to regulate the deep fake technology in the United States, about the politics and so on. So yeah, that's a good example. Just look at the technology, deep fake technology, great technology. Yeah, it shows a great possibility just to create new person, if you want. Create new actors for the commercials. Just what? Okay, the simple example: the commercial and the legal and the real person. You need to pay him. You need to sign the agreement. Yeah, you need to have the permission to use his face and so on for the commercial purposes. All these public faces, and now you can create your own face, real face. You can create a real video of real face. It will be not animated. It will be like real one, and you can create the real actors, and you don't need to pay the money for them. So yeah, that's also the problem.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I think, Marius, we need to pause a little bit on this identification problem, because we can miss other interesting points. Paulius, you have a very interesting topic. Could you go on?
Yeah, so I don't know how interested it will be to others, but that is, of course, one of the interesting thing for me, and I believe for other legal hackers also. And my My initial idea was to, and the topic is to present present a little bit legal tech. I think I got frozen. Hello,
We can hear you.
Yeah, okay, but
That's
my
okay.
screen.
If you have problems, I can go on with a little bit with regulation of artificial intelligence now. If you have any technical.
No, it's unfrozen. Okay, so I will try to share the screen again and to see if that will work. Okay. Yeah. So it's somehow it was frozen. So
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, perfect.
yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, good. So my topic I wanted to show it's somehow it's representing what I think about legal tech and to give some of my thoughts on what are the key drivers of legal tech and how it can be used to the overall businesses in general, and of course with some specific inquiries into the identification issues. So overall, when we speak about legal technologies, the law in this is the same context as a finance in a financial technologies, medicine in a medtech. So the legal technology also refers simply to the use of technological tools and softwares for provision of legal services and support of the legal industry, so to speak. What I wanted to start is simply to give the idea and overview of what are the key drivers of that industry, because legal tech became it's a real industry and develops very fast. And the very first driver of that legal tech industry is, of course, the explosion of data and technological transformations we all are living in. I mean, the amount of data, the amount of technological progress is simply don't have historical precedent yet, and it disrupts every industry in all the countries, and the depth of these changes are simply staggering. So. And law and legal industry is, of course, one of the industries where technological and data transformations now also makes a huge invasion, so to speak. So the one driver is these general transformations of the world we are living in, and the second driver, which also comes from these changes, is the complexity of the law. I mean, the law itself, if we look at the law which was 100 years ago and the law today, legal acts and legal regulations are more and more complex by the number of legal acts, the agencies who are controlling the performance of those legal acts. So as world and technologies becomes more and more complex, we are seeing the same complexity risen in the legal area too. So the law becomes more and more complex, and with the complexity of the law, and these are excellent graphs from one of the studies on quantifying legal complexity, and you see the number of references, the number of structures, the tokens in those the laws, which have articles, points, and etc. Now rising exponentially, and with that complexity of the law comes the rates of the lawyers. I mean, if you have to work with the complexity or complex legal issues, I mean, you will put more hours and you will of course, you will have bigger prices to pay for the lawyers. So the complexity of law brings the cost of the law also to at the same exponential rate. In having that said, I mean, technologies becomes more complex and more data driven. We have that highly risen complexity of the law. That on the other hand, on the other hand, we have consumers of law, which are regular people or businesses who consumes the legal regulations. These consumers are becoming more and more demanded. They demand more speed and more simplicity. And in terms, they are pressuring society and businesses for immediate services. Consumer expectations are, risen to the statements like, I need that thing, or I need that service now. I need it, to serve me completely. And here you have, the clash of legal regulation and its complexity, and you have the pressure from society to simplify it and to ease it up. So when it comes, from the complexity of the law brings time-consuming onboarding. It brings time-consuming compliance, and that doesn't fit the requirements of the businesses. It doesn't fit the requirements of legal consumers, and that in that regard, some businesses are trying to avoid legal regulations, which brings a huge questions of compliance. Some businesses are doing maximum and goes at its extreme with compliance, but that makes the consumers unhappy. So here is a problem, and here is a clash, which brings a huge gap to fill in with the same technology, so to speak. And having that said, I would like to bring the identification into the context. And when it comes to the identification regulations and the identification requirements, especially in the online businesses, we have those, some unregulated businesses, which like I don't know, some if you want to access and put some email service, all you need is just write down your email address and password, and you are in. So there are some unregulated businesses which are solving this identification of client and onboarding of the client pretty easily in the the best user experience way. But there are highly regulated industries like credit institutions, financial institutions, auditors, notaries, lawyers, company services, even real estate brokers or gambling services, which are where the identification process is highly regulated and enforced with big fines and sometimes even with a jail time, with huge reputational losses. So while some unregulated businesses can look at the user experience and provide easy access, these core services, and these are actually the core services of our everyday lives, it has some strict regulations everywhere globally. And of course, we are living in Europe, so that's obliged entities under anti-money laundering directive are regulated very strictly. So some core services already requires compliance when it comes to online onboarding. And when we talk about online businesses, online onboarding is a very first initial step to use any online services. So for some simple and unregulated, there is no problem. But when it comes to the core services, the identification and onboarding of a customer becomes a real challenge due to complex regulatory requirements and the need of compliance with that. So having that said, at the Central Bank Payment Council, we kind of highlighted the timeline for the remote identification rules and evolution of identification rules in Lithuania. And afterwards, we had a publication, and we looked at the same timeline for European Union, and it looks more or less the same. So when we look at the needs of technologies and that data and technology-driven world, and we need and we look at the legal regulation of at least the core services, we see the huge gap in a timeline, seeing that up until I don't know 2013. We had simple, document related and identity documentation related identification rules, which basically had no use for the online services and online access to at least to the core businesses. So and just in 2013, which is 2013 is not long ago, and all the online services and online financial services was already booming at that time. So just in 2013, we had the qualified e-signature introduced into the law, and it was not up until 2016 and 2017 when the video onboarding and photo onboarding was allowed by the law. So it's just 2016, 2017 when law catched up with the technologies and the need of technological world. So you see, there is a huge gap in a timeline, which I was speaking before. The law simply lags the technological progress, and it's the same in Lithuania, the same in Europe. The law so far is lacking the tradition of adaptation to technical progress, and as a result, the remote core services like online banking and other financial services were and still are facing delays and inefficiencies due to disproportionately restricting financial innovations and innovations in terms of online onboarding and digital identification. And even now, if in 2016 and 2017, basically solved some of the problems and allowed video identification and photo identification, it is still a document or token-based identification, which is actually solved by the law. But since then, the technological progress went already a decade ahead. We currently are talking about biometric identification and the use of our biometric data. We are talking about digital identity, which kind of uses your online footprint and your activities online to identify and verify that it is actually you. We are talking about blockchain use for the digital identity, which has no rules in the law yet. So yes, the law had solved some of the problems which comes to the document or token use, but it is still silent on biometrics, on a digital identity, on other concepts which are already in place and already used by the market. So yeah, of course, we can think that, okay, the law will catch up, the technologies will be in line, then it's maybe it's, we can look at, okay, that's a problem of lawyers. The lawyers will draft some laws and solve that. kind of look at it narrowly. But this problem of lagging regulation actually creates much bigger issues, social issues, which comes with the phases of exclusion from legal system, exclusion from services, exclusion from income opportunities. The basic social exclusion is in place if you cannot use your if you cannot access those online services at any time with you know the speedy solutions. So the problems with the very initial step of using any online services, which is identification, the problems which are in identification and onboarding results in the huge social problems of limiting access to the core services and limiting social inclusion and legal inclusion. So overall, we have this, you know, the explosion of data and complexity of the law and the price of legal inclusion. We have the huge demand and speed and simplicity requirement from customers and the need to simplify this. And we have the lack of tradition of adaptation to technical progress from the lawmakers. So there is a huge problem in place. The question is, okay, can technology help in solving these problems? And the answer, of course, yes. Basically, it's only technologies which can help with that. And here we have the clear opportunity for legal techs, and of course, legal techs seeing that opportunity to close the gap between complexity of the law and demands of the public, had started looking at the law as from the industry perspective and the legal tech as a solution for some of the problems. So and legal tech and the idea of using technology to solve legal problems is not new at all. I mean, the first readings from 1958 already right after the Turing test and Turing experiments, already the lawyers catched up and started asking, well, can we use that artificial intelligence and can we use that technologies to solve some legal problems? So that's 60 years ago. We already have talked about legal tech and technology used in the law. In 1970s, there was already first legal text or first experiments with tax reports and tax filing and use of artificial intelligence in the real life situations. So that's 40 years ago. We already had some traction from the IT guys to adopt those concepts into the legal area. And of course, the boom that was a little bit forgotten and didn't get much use simply because of the price of technologies and price of computers and the systems. But as the technologies progressed, we have seen a major comeback to those ideas, and we have seen major breakthroughs in the legal text, from robot lawyers to adopting technologies to the judicial reasoning and all other AI use for various aspects of the law. And with the growing use cases of technology use in the legal area, we have seen the rising investors' attention to the legal tech startups, and one of the major breakthroughs was in 2018, and it continues, in 2019 and 2020. So investors are already paying attention to the legal tech solutions, and paying attention with their dollars or euros, then that industry is growing very, very rapidly. So currently, for those who are interested in and will be interested in what's going on in a legal tech, we have many attempts to map the legal tech startups, like to put them into some brackets and into some grouping attempts, and you can see some great collection of legal tech maps in the legalcomplex.com website, which collects have a great collection of legal tech maps all across the globe. We have some collections of and maps coming from Angel.com, from Stanford University, from Legal Geek. So that industry already grew up to the amounts where there is a possibility to kind of start grouping them and start mapping them. So this industry is growing pretty. This industry is growing and growing very rapidly. So having that boom of technology solutions for legal complexity and for legal challenges, I have looked, and I just wanted to show the regular, or let's say the typical customer journey layer, which is any business, any online business has those things done and has those things elaborated. And as you see, the legal part is one of the major parts in any customer journey in any business. And legal part basically starts from the very first moment when client comes to your website or client comes to your online store, to your online bank. And the very first step in that and very first challenge for that is to identify you. So, but with identification solutions, it doesn't stop there. You have to sell something. You have to complete transaction. You have to perform that transaction. You have to monitor. You have to know your customer. You have to support that customer through that journey. You have to make the customer happy, or to solve the disputes with that customer. So in all of this journey of customer, the lawyers are one of the key players, in the legal compliance and the legal in the legal services for that customer, leading through the full journey and through the whole cycle. So having that said, we have the need, the compliance need. We have the huge demand to kind of legal solutions throughout the customer journey, and the customers are demanding, to give everything in a speedy nature, and then to do the solutions and then provide services right now and right here. And we have all kind of, the rapidly developing legal technology business, which are solving those complexity issues and all those different solutions, which are thousands and thousands of startups providing solutions for the various aspects of legal complexity. So basically, you have all the components. You have the need of the customers, and you have the tools in place which can solve the legal complexity and solve the compliance needs. So basically, yes, we have the problem which brought to us by the explosion of data technologies and the legal complexity, clashing with the customer requirements. But we have tools in place already. We have the tools in place to close that gap and to solve that conflict between the lawmakers and legal complexity and customers. As an example, and few of the use cases, I mean, if we look at the step of identification and KYC, we already have beautiful solutions, and I'm putting just few of them coming from Lithuania, like Condato.com, Identify, which are very easily integrated and solving online identification and KYC requirements for any financial or obliged entities, so to speak. So yes, you have a solution for identification and for KYC, which is in full compliance with the regulation. Then you have various solutions for document automation. So if client already is passing through the identification, you have to make the sales, you have to make the contracts and make the transaction. And here you can use all the document automation services and document automation solutions to lead that client through the specific contract and specific contract performance. After that, if client has some questions and client has some requests, or for a frequently asked questions, you have to there are solutions for robo lawyers, there are solutions for legal chatbots, and etc., who can automatically answer those questions. I mean, you don't have to go to the lawyer to anymore, at least when you are dealing with regular transactions and template questions. If you have answered those questions and the client is still unhappy, you can use tools for online dispute resolution and put in place the dispute resolution solutions, which are also in compliance with certain laws and certain regulations. So, yeah.
I'm very sorry to interrupt, but we have to move forward. Could you?
That's a final things. So what I wanted to say and show that we already have solutions in place. All what is needed is to take them and put like a Lego bricks in place to make all the consumers satisfied and to move that customer journey as smooth as can in a compliant way with legal regulations. So that's all from me.
Okay, thank you, Paulius. Just because I promised also to show a little bit about regulation of artificial intelligence in Europe, so I will show only a few slides. So one will be important for the party which will be held, I think, on Saturday or Sunday, I don't remember. And we prepared the question there. So can you see my slides? Hello? Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, great. So before, I just wanted to point you that this is quite old information, like it appeared like 2 years ago. And it pointed that Europe is losing in a, let's say, competition for the digital economy. And the Europe part is less than 4%. So the global players here are United States and China. So in general, it's a big problem. And if we think that in US and in China, there is not much regulation, of course, China has a bit different approach. Like a lot of companies, they are connected to the government and they do like government's tasks. But in US, let's say it's more or less like Wild West. And in Europe, we are trying to move on regulation. So first attempt I would call it was like civil law rules on robotics in 2017, and it was very interesting that quite like what intention I felt from the policymakers. So it was like they are very afraid. Maybe just they are a fan of that Terminator movie, and they remember how like robots were fighting for the humans. So in the resolution part, maybe Paulius and Marius knows this fact or not, I don't know, but maybe you can answer what is not mentioned. This is classical myth of Pygmalion, Frankenstein, Golem, and the first mention of a robot. What do you think, guys? Was it mentioned in the resolution part or not?
Strange. I guess not.
Sorry, but it was everything. Everything was mentioned. So you can imagine what type of the law it is. So a lot of fear, what robotics and in general technology can bring us. But what they were talking about, so about main principles, human rights, like data protection, that it should be like black box similar to the planes, that, you know, everything, all data is recorded to the black box. And if something happens, we can just check for the information. And law for reverse engineering stuff, and so on and so on. The second attempt was made by lawyers, basically. It is one like European Commission for Efficiency of Justice. So just they implement, they recommended, let's say, to implement a few principles. So for respect of fundamental rights, so they are afraid that artificial intelligence will somehow discriminate people. So it's important to ensure that it will be no any discrimination. So, and the second principle basically comes from the first one. And yeah, quality and security, general principles, transparency. So it's very interesting that actually, and it's very connected with the fifth one, so principle under user control, that actually user can see why the machine decided to do this or that. Why artificial intelligence, let's say, algorithm is working like this and that. And the interesting part is that you can switch off if you don't want that automation. So imagine just you are opening like Google site, and they ask, do you want like our cool search engine to be used? And you say no, and just, I know, they say, oh, sorry, you cannot use Google. It's my opinion about that. And 2 days ago, officially, so proposal for regulation of European approach for artificial intelligence was launched by European Commission. And actually a very interesting document. Of course, still it's like proposal. It's not like the law which is going into force and it's implemented everywhere, but in that part we already find very interesting approaches that and I actually recommend even non-for lawyers to read that document. Of course, it is like very long one, like 108 pages, but you will see that there, like all those fears that let's say robots and machines will destroy us, they appear here, and they are trying to say that there exist like a lot of risks which are coming from the use of artificial intelligence. And they say that we need to think how to develop like a trustable artificial intelligence, which could, you know, like respect all that fundamental European rights. And what is more interesting, I found like the term made in Europe, because basically there was no such like huge market protection when we think about like products, electronic products, or just a digital market. So always we were talking that in Europe we need to make like a single digital market, but there we can see that term "made in Europe" appears, and probably we will see that even for developers of artificial intelligence in Europe will be more complicated, because it will be more regulated comparing to, let's say, US, and probably we will lose that part of pie, even 4%, which we have at the moment. And of course, objectives, like they are like very nice and so on, but I see also the big problems. And if you look to the document, you will find that some of those artificial intelligence systems, they even are forbidden. And I will show you that even in the beginning, after the terms are described, you can see the second part of the document. It is forbidden artificial intelligence practices. So you will see that you cannot use for discrimination, for physical and psychological harm, that artificial intelligence. And also this part very interesting, because somehow it's connected with our challenge, because you cannot use the real-time remote biometric identification systems in publicly accessible spaces for purpose of law enforcement. So maybe it's a problem. Europe doesn't want to copy-paste China, let's say, that credit system to the Europe, because they think that it's not a good idea. And you can find this in this document and a lot of other interesting stuff. But because we are, let's say, out of time, I have to come back to the last, let's say, remarks. So what we have learned here, I don't know, maybe Marius could say some final sentences.
I think we introduced a lot of problems and no solved decisions. so just the problems, and some challenges in the future. So it's upon you. It's upon you to decide which problem you'll choose or which challenge you'll choose. So yeah, for the final mark, I think we are not able even to describe law in the 1 year of the future, because it's changed so fast. We invent new kind of technologies, and then you show us the project of the law. I think it's a project, yeah, that the commission.
Actually, it's already published, so
Okay.
it's like proposal. So
proposal, yeah. So just imagine how they're trying to control the artificial intelligence, but we don't have real artificial intelligence. We even don't know what it will be like. So just imagine you're trying to control your dreams or regulate your dreams. Yeah.
Paulius, what do you think?
Well, I think we learned a lot today. At least I had some fun with discussing and with discussions and some interesting things, especially on a martial law. That kind of got me thinking about actually discussing it with NASA lawyers, at least to attempt to to get them on board. So I mean everything is okay. I learned some few things and had fun as we went through.
Yeah, like the Elon Musk said, yeah, who will the first person who will decide how to control and how to regulate it. Sorry for that. We have the moon law, we have the cosmos law, but that law is limited by the distance by the rockets. So if you can shoot them, you can control them. If not, so not.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely, I agree with you. So thank you everyone for joining this like legal tech talks, especially for Marius, Paulius, that you not in a bars sitting and enjoying the openness. However, yeah, if you have any questions, so during the mentorship sessions, you can ask us. We will be happy to answer. So I hope you enjoy. If not, then sorry. Maybe next time it will be better.
Yeah, we can just protect us. We are lawyers. Sorry for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No one loves lawyers.
No. Okay. So goodbye. Have a good day today.
Yeah. Bye, everyone. Till the next time.